The NCAA Women's Championship presented by Capital One. You are watching the Sweet 16 presented by Coke Zero Sugar in Spokane, Washington. Getting ready for the second game of the day here. Kansas State against the top seed USC Trojans. Taking a look at our bracket earlier this evening here. Connecticut behind 40 points from Paige Beckers takes down Oklahoma. They'll face the winner of this game tomorrow on ABC at 3 Eastern. It's LSU against UCLA. As we welcome you courtside once again. Hey everybody, Ryan Rucco alongside the Hall of Famer Rebecca Lobo. So happy to be with you for this Sweet 16 matchup. Rebecca, this is a place Kansas State has not been since 2002, and they have ridden a very talented trio to get here.
They certainly have, and it starts on the anchor inside for them in Aoka Lee. And she missed a number of games due to injury, but when she was healthy, they were virtually unbeatable. And you couple an inside presence with a point guard who can deliver the basketball. Serena Sundell leads the nation in assists per game. And then you add to that a player who can drop them from the perimeter. Tamira Poindexter coming up from a game where she made 8 threes against Kentucky.
Meanwhile, we know the biggest story for USC, the biggest story of the tournament thus far has been the knee injury to Juju Watkins. We send all of our best wishes to the USC star who is watching from home today. And for USC, it means more is on the plate of Kiki Iriafen, who has performed really well in the minutes where Juju has not played this season.
In particular, in their second round game after Juju went down, Kiki Iriafen was outstanding. She finished with 36 points in that game. She has a variety of moves on the offensive end, especially for a post player. Can face up, drive, receive the ball on the move, hit from 15 to 17 feet. She's going to need to be big for them offensively here this afternoon.
Kiki coming off a 36-point performance in the second round, and you can see in those moments she's been on the floor without Juju. She has stepped up her game in the points per 40 minutes and the field goal percentage. For a little more on Juju Watkins, let's send things over to another Hall of Famer. Here's Holly Rowe.
When Juju Watkins went down in their second round game, I was there in the building and it was so awful. It felt like the collective soul left the building. I think her teammate Talia Von Althoffen said it best when she said it was such a tragedy, but we've all got to move on. Kiki Iriafen said she's impossible to replace. She's one of one, but we all have to be bigger and better meaning versions of ourselves. Her social media, look at all of women's basketball sending her love and support. Her teammates want her to know that they have her back. The basketball community has her back. This mural in LA, USC and that LA community have her back. And Lindsay Gottlieb told us Juju is home having a watch party, so I hope she knows that she is well thought of here. We want her to know that she has our love and support, and they know they have to continue to fight for their goals that are ahead of them.
Well, in pregame, Holly, thank you very much. Here were the shirts that all the USC players were wearing to honor Juju, to send their love and support to her. We heard pregame Lindsay Gottlieb telling Holly about that and making sure that Juju knows her mark on this program extends beyond just when she's on the floor. We take a look at the starting lineup brought to you by Capital One. Ziona Walker, Jalen Glenn, Serena Sundell, Poindexter, Aoka Lee, the starting 5 for Kansas State. Talia Von Althoffen, Avery Howell slides into the starting lineup with the freshman Kennedy Smith, Iriafen, and then Rhea Marshall, who's a real factor defensively when it comes to shot blocking. Lindsay Gottlieb in her 4th season as this group in the Sweet 16, back-to-back years for the first time since the early 90s. And Jeff Mittie, his first Sweet 16 appearance in 30 seasons as a Division I head coach. You can see on his face the joy and pride he's taking in this journey as this Sweet 16 matchup is underway between USC and Kansas State. Here's Marshall. Smith looking inside, will take, can't hit. Rebound collected by Rhea Marshall on the offensive glass. Put back won't go, knocked out of bounds. Last hit Kansas State. And a second chance here for USC.
Kansas State starting out in man-to-man defense. USC working the ball around the perimeter. Expect them to try to get Kiki Iriafen involved as soon as possible.
Fake to the corner. Smith cans the three. And the freshman gets USC on the board first.
K-State was in a zone defense for that under out of bounds, and all it took was the little ball fake for Smith to get the space to get the shot up.
Sundell gets denied, and it last hits Sundell as Smith comes up with a rejection.
You talked about it already. Rhea Marshall is a menace on the defensive end of the floor. She comes over. Looks like both players may have gotten a piece of that block shot.
They're second in Division I in block shots per game. Only Kentucky better this season. And Marshall the primary reason why. Von Olhoffen back ironing off. Iriafen battling for the board. Still battling. It's loose and scooped up by Kansas State. Here comes Walker. Sundell has had a big year, a big tournament, a great career for Kansas State. Walker stops. Poindexter extra feed. His three is off from Glenn, and the strong side rebound to Iriafen.
I thought Aoka Lee had her defender on her back for much of that possession, and Kansas State typically gets her the basketball when she does.
Two defenders come, and Lee and Sundell able to combine on the stop. Out of bounds, stays with Kansas State. It was interesting talking to Jeff Mittie because he said he called up his tape guy after USC was going to be the matchup for Kansas State, and he said, hey, get me all the non-Juju clips you can get me of USC and how they look. And he said, Coach, this is going to be the quickest assignment you've ever given me because there's just not that many clips.
110, 110, yes. That's not very many.
It was something that Lindsey Gottlieb joked to us about as well. Smith dives inside for the finish. A nice take from the number 6 overall recruit in the country this past season. We saw Kennedy Smith announce herself in Paris in the season debut with USC in a standout performance. Good start here for USC, a 5-0 lead, and a foul, no, a travel, as Kansas State turns it over.
Here's Kennedy Smith, she's such a strong guard, goes in, absorbs a little contact, finishes. On the other end, when Aoka Lee touched the basketball, you saw the double team come from Howell. And one thing that USC has is experience defending a big. They went against Lauren Betts 3 times in the regular season, 6-7. So plenty of experience going against a player of Lee's size.
USC got 28% of their points from freshmen this year, tops amongst the 1 seeds in this tournament. As the foul called here against Kansas State. So Kennedy Taylor and Taryn Sides check into the game for Kansas State. Rhea Marshall will go to the line. Marshall sinks the first. Rhea Marshall, 5th most blocks among all active D1 players. In this tournament, she's averaged 5.5 a game.
She can be a menace defensively because of her ability to block shots. She's also really good on the boards and a very good passer as well, especially for a post.
Could potentially be playing in her final collegiate game. USC out to the 7-0 lead, though. Winner of this one will face Connecticut on Monday night, 9 Eastern on ESPN. Here's Sundell, loose dribble. Bounces inside, layup is good for Taylor. First bucket of the game for the Wildcats.
Serena Sundell with terrific size at 6'2" for a guard, and she can pass really well when she has her back to the basket.
Marshall on the follow, can't stick the landing. Here comes Sundell. Leads the nation in assists. Poindexter short on that one. Hit 8 threes in the second round in that dramatic win over Kentucky.
She missed her first 6.
Yes.
And then after that just went on an absolute tear. Hit a couple big shots in the 4th quarter in particular.
Myra Poindexter going for the steal there. Von Oelhoffen hooks a pass. Marshall using her size, couldn't finish it. Rebound out of the arms of Taylor, but collected by Kansas State. Sides thought about pulling. Here's Taylor working inside, couldn't finish it around Iriafen.
Completely different look though. When she gets the ball inside, no double team comes. Iriafen can just play that straight up.
Iriafen, mid-range is off. Was 16 of 22 in that second round game and route to those 36 points. Here's Sundell, nice bounce, under rejection. Guess who? Rhea Marshall says no.
Just comes in, great timing on her shot blocking. 6'4", long arms, so impactful for USC defensively.
Already 2 blocks in this game for Marshall. Poindexter can't hit that one. A long rebound taken in by Howell. Changes for USC. Kaylee Heckel, the freshman, off the bench. Here she comes with the 3. She can't get it to drop. Lee the rebound. Malia Samuels in as well. Poindexter firing away, unable to hit. Akumwafo in as well for USC. 3 subs in. Heckel off, and Lee secures the glass. (7-2) start for USC, a low-scoring quarter thus far, and a foul here against USC on Akumwafo. Well, there's the simultaneous sentiment from all USC fans. Juju is absolutely missed, and they want Kiki and the rest of USC to keep dancing here in this Sweet 16. USC off to a 7-2 lead over Kansas State. Winner will play Connecticut on Monday. And the USC defense, the first 2 games of this tournament, just outstanding.
Stifling, and that was an interesting part of our conversation with Lindsay Gottlieb, was talking about how Juju also impacts them on the defensive end of the floor. She does a great job getting in lanes. She's a terrific shot blocker, gets steals as well. Her help side defense can be incredibly disruptive. But without her, they've held Kansas State to only 2 points here in the first 5 minutes.
One of the things Lindsay Gottlieb talked to us about as well is you see how poor the shooting numbers are for both teams early. She said, you know, we may be kind of harder to scout because Juju's involved in so much as Glenn drops it in. Just the second bucket of the game for Kansas State.
Well, certainly. I mean, USC with a healthy Juju Watkins, the primary defensive game plan is trying to limit her and what she does with the ball in her hands.
Iriafen gets rejected by Lee. Here comes Sundell, flick ahead, Glenn lays it in. A nice response out of the timeout from Kansas State.
Jalen Glenn, a player who is very efficient from outside the arc, but we've also seen her here use her strength to get to the rim and then the speed to get ahead.
Samuels trying to dig into the paint, flings it to the corner. Smith short, rebound Sundell. Gets it ahead to the threat from 3 sides. Pulled from deep, unable to hit. That's something that Jeff Mittie has been working on with Taryn Sides all season long, was something that was really an emphasis in the offseason, telling her, I want you to shoot so often that you get your shot blocked, okay? You don't need that much space. That's how good of a shooter you are. I want to make sure you are pulling. And shot at 44% from 3 this year, significantly upped her attempts.
He remembered the exact date in July where it finally happened, where she got a 3 blocked.
July 15th. After all summer, you've been begging her to get a 3 blocked. USC had missed 8 straight before that make from Smith. Smith has 7 in this first. Lee, the all-time leading scorer and rebounder in school history, can't hit.
Akumwafo did a good job, though, of pushing Lee off of the block, making it a tougher shot to finish.
Akumwafo sets the screen. Samuels the dish. Smith can't bank it in, but the tip is good. Kennedy Smith assertive in the early going. She has 9 first quarter points. And a whistle, a kick is going to keep things here with Kansas State.
Kennedy Smith knew that Aoka Lee was right there. She probably would not be able to come down with the ball and go back up, so just tips it. She has looked so good here early in this game, especially for a freshman, and a bit of a new role for her without Juju on the floor.
Was excited. Her brother Jordan lives out here. Her team was eating at his restaurant. Marcela Sanchez into the game for Kansas State. Lee can't finish it. And a tie-up. Possession arrow belongs to Kansas State. So Lee wins the possession back. This is just the third game back for Aoka Lee, who dealt with multiple foot injuries this season. 7 years at Kansas State and has dealt with all kinds of injuries throughout. It's the only way you can accumulate 7 years at a school.
We saw her get an early sub. The pace of the game will dictate how frequently she has to come out.
Walker buries the three. Diana Walker, who shot it at just 27% this season, gives Kansas State its first triple of the game. Iria Finn. And Lee the rebound. Sundell. Let's see her assessing if she had the angle to get it to Sanchez. Decided against it. Final 2 minutes of the first quarter of this Sweet 16 matchup. Walker in and out. Sanchez the rebound and taken away by Iria Finn. Kaylee Heckel floats it in, but the foul on the floor before the bucket.
Kaylee Heckel, a player who has played really well so far in this NCAA tournament. She had 9 total minutes in the Big Ten tournament. Did not play in the Big Ten championship game against UCLA, but has come out with a really nice confidence. Lindsey Gottlieb spoke to her after the Big Ten tournament to let her know how much they were going to need her in the NCAAs.
Told her she needed to respond in practice as well, and she has. And that was not normal for her, as Von Olhoff again at the three. This is a player who's playing 15 to 17 minutes a game. To not play in that Big Ten championship was significant, but she has, as you said, responded beautifully. Bounce it inside. There's Heckel diving on the floor. Layup won't go for Kennedy Taylor. Here comes Kennedy Smith all the way in with a finish. 11 points in the quarter for Kennedy Smith.
What a tough finish by Kennedy Smith. Going to her right, she was fading that way. The extension on the hand for the layup.
She is the last 6 USC points. Sundell, trap, dishes, cross-court pass. Walker gives it back. Taylor spinning, can't finish. Rebound on the interior from another freshman, Avery Howell. Smith putting it on the deck. Good find. Rhea Marshall back in. Couldn't bank it home. About a 5-second difference game in shot clock here. Both teams have shot at 25% or worse in this first. Sundell, give and go, knocked away by Howell. Time here for USC. Von Olhoffen gives it up. Howell's three, you bet! And that is how the first quarter will end. USC a 7-point lead after one. Jeff Mittie, Kansas State head coach, will chat with Holly in just a moment. But what a first quarter for Kennedy Smith. With 11 in the frame, the freshman trying to carry a larger load and doing so effectively in the first quarter of the Sweet 16. Well, Kennedy Smith outscoring Kansas State in that quarter as we check out how they're fueling the run. Brought to you by Wendy's.
Kennedy Smith was certainly a problem for Kansas State in that first quarter. The versatility to her game. She can be deadly from the perimeter, uses her strength so well. Anytime she attacks the basket, in particular when she can do it in transition, she showed off her mid-range as well. the supreme confidence just oozing out of this young freshman.
Holly?
Well, you see her physicality. Great article in the LA Times about she grew up playing against her brother, and she never wanted him to take it easy on her. Her brother RJ plays at Colorado now, and he and his male friends, she would say, don't let up on me. I want this to be hard. She would always play up 2 years on her travel team, so she was going against bigger, stronger female athletes as well, and you see that physicality show up in her game.
No question about it, Holly. She has been an impressive freshman. Start of the second quarter. Winner of this game plays Connecticut Monday night, 9 Eastern on ESPN in the Elite Eight. Heckel, no. Rebound Walker for Kansas State. Kansas State trying to make the Elite Eight for the first time since 1982 as that three will drop. As Jalen Glenn gets one to fall.
Jalen Glenn's been really good offensively here for Kansas State, and that was a terrific pass by Poindexter, the +1 to get it to the corner.
Von Olaf in. No. Lee, a one-handed rebound, then had it poked away. Look at Heckel diving on the floor. Couldn't quite come up with it. Here's Sundell, eyes up, Poindexter alone, connects! Timeout USC, what a start to the second for Kansas State.
Kansas State averages 8.5 made threes per game. It's part of the fabric of what they do, and it's how they've gotten themselves back into this one.
All right, thank you very much. Kelsey, winner of this game will play Connecticut. 9 Eastern Monday night on ESPN. Yeah, Paige Beckers put up 40 points, had 29 of them in the second half. Connecticut turned a 4-point halftime deficit into a big win over Oklahoma, and Kansas State forces the turnover out of the timeout.
Yeah, nice job by Kansas State, picking up in some full court pressure, double teaming once the ball came inbounds, and Ray Marshall can typically handle the ball very well out on the perimeter. There's just miscommunication between her and a teammate there.
First turnover of the game for USC, playing this game, of course, without their star, Juju Watkins, the knee injury. In the second round, Aoka Lee working inside, can't finish it, knocked away by Walker. Kansas State able to come up with it. Another chance here for the Wildcats. Sundell moves inside and gets fouled. Serena Sundell will shoot two.
The last possession, Aoka Lee caught the ball inside. The double team did not come. Ray Marshall has done a nice job against her, just making life difficult in terms of pushing her out a little bit for the catch and then contesting after she does.
First foul on Kennedy Smith. I thought Serena Sundell was really honest with us yesterday, talking about the difficulty in toggling between having Aoka Lee and not, and how Kansas State runs their offense. So they've gotten better about it as the season went along, but it's such a big adjustment when she's in or not, that when she's missed stretches of games, it was hard to navigate, and their win-loss record would show you that.
Yeah, on both ends of the floor as well, because their on-ball screen coverage is completely different with and without Lee.
She's just such a unique player that it's harder to stay in stride, as that's rejected by Poindexter. Shot clock down to 4. Howell gives it up. Von Olaf has to hoist. And a shot clock violation. Back-to-back turnovers from USC.
And that was an example of the pick and roll coverage. Aoka Lee is going to play big-time drop coverage. That time Poindexter was able to get over the top and block the shot.
A 7-0 run here from Kansas State. And USC yet to score in this second quarter. USC with its most wins since 1986. Last year reached the Elite Eight, falling in a classic contest with Connecticut. That's who awaits the winner here. Poindexter tosses to Sundell. Sundell trying to work Smith, who has one foul, and Sundell finishes plus the contact, and that'll be number 2 on Kennedy Smith.
I've been so impressed with Serena Sundell and her ability not only to deliver the ball inside or to play facing the basket. She is an outstanding back to the basket player. You see the step through move there, getting the crowd fired up. 6'2" guard though, Ryan. She spends a lot of time with her back to the basket, oftentimes passing it back out to teammates, but you saw the beautiful footwork, post-like footwork there.
First in Division I in assists this season at over 7 a game. She's the program career leader in assists. She's 4th in Big 12 history. Helping a 10-0 run here for Kansas State. Howell drains the 3, a much-needed bucket for USC.
Avery Howell has done that throughout the course of the season, just making big shots when her team needs it.
While Kennedy Smith staying on the floor with 2 fouls. Lee can't get anything to drop. The shots have not been particularly close thus far. Iria Finn sinks it to the corner. Nice move to free herself. The 3 banks in for Samuels. Malia Samuels puts USC back in front. 4th 3 of the game for the Trojans. Poindexter gives it up. Sundell can't hit. Rebound on the weak side. Howell with some pace up the floor. That was what Kansas State spent most of their time focusing on practice yesterday, was getting back against USC's transition. Sundell the block, and then it last hits Samuels out of bounds off of USC.
How smart. Sundell not only blocks the shot, then hits it a second time right there, so that it'll be K-State possession.
4 blocks for Kansas State. 8th in the nation in blocks per game, just under 6. Kansas State started the quarter 10-0, a 6-0 response from USC. Taylor bodying in, can't flip it home. Vano off it. Heaves it down the floor, intercepted by Sundell. Poindexter alone, connects! Second 3 for Tamira Poindexter, who hit 8 in Kansas State's overtime second-round win against Kentucky. Iria Finn has it knocked away by Glenn. Sundell weaving through the paint, gets fouled, and Serena Sundell is going to the stripe. Hey, for the 5th straight year, every NCAA Women's Championship game is on the networks of ESPN. For more information, go to ncaa.com, your home for all 90 NCAA championships. What a day of basketball we have had.
Great games.
Holly, you and me almost missed our ride here because we were so locked into the TCU Notre Dame game. Then Tennessee, Texas went down to the absolute wire. And then the first game, Oklahoma has a halftime lead. First game here in Spokane tonight. Oklahoma has a halftime lead on Connecticut, and Paige Beckers just comes out with a historic second half. 29 points in the second half alone on 12 of 16, shooting a career-high 40. First UConn player with a 40-point game in the tournament, and Connecticut wins. And now awaits the winner here between Kansas State and USC. Elite 8 games on ABC tomorrow. The reverse is good. Heckel able to hook it home on the backside. First bucket of the game for Kaylee Heckel, who they call K9. Sundell, patient, poked away. After it, and it will stay with Kansas State. Timeout on the floor. Tied at 24, second quarter action.
The 3 has been good to Kansas State here in the second quarter. Poindexter training on, and Kaylee Heckel driving it inside.
on the line. Tied at 24. Second quarter action, 4:39 to go in this second quarter. Take a look at the shot chart for USC's freshmen tonight, having to step up in the absence of Juju Watkins, and they've been very efficient thus far. The rest of the team has struggled with the freshmen, 8 for 15 combined.
And you knew those three were going to have to really play well in this game. I think the bigger surprise is just how Kiki Iriafen has kind of been held down so far in this game by Kansas State's defense. Iriafen with no points and only 4 field goal attempts.
Iriafen with her 36, most by a USC player in NCAA tournament history. She's the first player in the last 25 years with a 30-point game in the tournament for 2 different teams. Did so with Stanford last year, and then in the second round with USC. Talking to USC yesterday, their players across the board, they had a great demeanor about them, a confidence, a connectivity, and a real resilience mindset, saying, hey, we can still do this if we want to do it for Juju, and we believe that we can, as that's out of bounds and will stay here with Kansas State.
0.8 on the shot clock right now.
Enough time to catch and shoot in a hurry. Sundell lobs it in. Poindexter, pretty good look for the time they had on the clock. Tied at 24, 4:20 to go in the first half for this Sweet 16 matchup. Howell, short. Sundell on the move. And it's here for Amani Lester. Glenn thought about the 3, kicks it out, Sides doesn't take it. Sides spinning, dishing. Lester held up beautifully by Samuels. Possession arrow belongs to Kansas State.
Yeah, Malia Samuels, though, she just saved what could have been a wide open layup by Lester.
Lindsey Gottlieb has talked to us about the defensive mentality she likes that she gets off the bench from Heckel and Samuels. Poindexter lost the handle, 2 to shoot. Difficult spot here for Sides, didn't have time for that. And Kansas State turns it over, just their 4th of the half. A coverage of the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship continues tonight on CBS and TBS. For more information on tournament game times, the networks, go to ncaa.com.
Lee back on the floor now, but when she was on the bench, USC able to go long stretches with their smaller lineup, with Iriafen really the only post player in the game.
How about Lee and Iriafen both have not scored in this game?
Just as everyone expected it would go.
Exactly. Iriafen in and out. Almost had a reverse announcer jinx there. Sanchez in the backcourt has to get moving.
Would have been an announcer.
Sundell has to get it across and just barely does.
That would have been an announcer gift, right?
You know what? That's a better way to describe something than a reverse jinx. And it's out of bounds off of Kansas State. Now Juju may not be here, but you know, Juju's still here. The Funko Pop Juju doll on the sideline and very involved in this first half. You see, the head may bob, but the bun stays in place.
When USC goes with their double post lineup, Kansas State's defense changes a little bit. They still play man-to-man out on the perimeter, but kind of zone up in an eye on the interior.
Sanchez has it deflected. Lee able to save it. And a 3rd straight turnover for Kansas State after they had 3 in the entire first half prior to these possessions. Iriafen, there it is. Kiki's first bucket of the night.
And again, because of the way Kansas State is playing defense, with a player kind of at the high post and one at the low post to clog up the paint, that baseline 10-footer is going to be there for Iriafen.
Number 3 prospect in this upcoming WNBA draft. Lee, there's an answer for her. First buckets of the game for both talented bigs.
The announcer gift
Not the reverse jinx.
keeps on giving.
Iria Finn. Not that time. Here's Sundell. Sundell bounces out. Lee waits, dishes. Sundell's leaner is good. Serena Sundell, 6 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists for Kansas State. A 2-point lead. 1:30 to go in the first half. Kennedy Smith has navigated with 2 fouls for much of this second quarter. Yet to score in the frame. Smith turning the corner. Can't get the roll. Lee the rebound. 7th rebound for Lee. Many of them contested. Sundell gets rejected but fouled. And free throws for Serena Sundell. First foul on Iria.
See Kiki Iriafen just sprinting the floor. We've seen her sprint the floor on the offensive end. Here she's coming down defensively. Looked really clean up top.
Yeah, it did look clean, yeah. Maybe some body below, but certainly clean up top. So Iriafen picks up her first. As Sundell sinks the free throw. See the body get her? Yeah.
Yeah, with the hip.
That's right. Right call. Sundell hits both. Largest lead of the game for Kansas State. It is 4. That's how tightly this first half has been played. USC had a 7-point lead. That was their largest. Kansas State 4. Buttlehoffen dumps it in. Marshall gets swallowed up by Lee. About a 14-second difference game in shot clock. Lee on the block. Lee gets rejected, and it will stay here with the Wildcats. Aoka Lee, who once had a 61-point game. An NCAA record.
Just look at Rhea Marshall banging inside, not letting her establish deep position.
Walker wanted it, finally gets it, but a turnover.
Moving screen on Sanchez called there.
So Kansas State has done a really nice job protecting the basketball all half. Has 4 turnovers over the last few possessions, and now up to 7. But they have the 4-point lead. Shot clock turned off, and there's a foul on Walker. Kansas State has fouls to give. That's the first on Walker. Serena Sundell joked that Jeff Mittie has been very chipper all week. It's been nice for the players. Mittie in the Sweet 16 for the first time in his 3-decade coaching career. Looking to take a lead into half. Heckel behind the back through the lane, able to scoop it in. What a move from Kaylee Heckel to end the first half. Beautiful bucket from Heckel, but it's Kansas State who leads by 2 after 2 quarters here in Spokane.
Kaylee Heckel with just a great drive and finish as the clock running down.
Serena Sundell did a little bit of everything for Kansas State. She's with Holly Rowe.
Well, Serena, your team didn't get out to the best start, but you have come on so strong. What has allowed your team to settle in and start playing so well?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what happened in our last game. So as long as we're staying confident and feeding off of each other with that confidence is what propelled us last game. So just sticking to that, we'll be fine.
You've been able to get downhill, get to the free throw line, or get baskets. How is your aggressive mindset paying off?
Yeah, I think I just gotta take what the defense is giving to me and then find my teammates when they're open. They gotta make a choice. They want to crash in or stay out, so just keep reading.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, Serena Sundell, 8 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Kansas State a 2-point lead at the half. of this Sweet 16 matchup. Let's get it to the Shea Moisture halftime report. Kelsey, Muffet, and Megan. In Spokane, Kansas State, a 2-point lead over USC. A big second quarter from the Wildcats, getting some looks in transition, and Serena Sundell, the senior, coming through big time as we welcome you courtside once again. Ryan Ruocco alongside the Hall of Famer Rebecca Lobo. Now we know USC without their star Juju Watkins, they also haven't been able to get any of their interior players going. Let's take a look at what Kansas State has done defensively. Now it's time for Get More, brought to you by Geico.
Basically a 3 dots and an eye kind of defense. The perimeter players are playing man-to-man, and then you have the post players in an eye formation, kind of zoning up the paint area. What happens as soon as Area Finn touches the ball? The double team comes over, the weak side is able to fill back down. K-State, whenever USC went to their double big lineup, went to that 3 dots and an eye formation.
Let's check out today's game track, brought to you by Invesco QQQ. Serena Sundell scored or assisted on 67% of her team's points in that first half. Kansas State contesting everything. And Area Finn, who had 36 in the second round, held to 2 in that first half. Let's check in with Holly Rowe.
Lindsay Gottlieb just told her team in the huddle, let's get stops and let's fly. This is a team that has played fast all season long. They're not playing fast enough. She wants more energy, more up and down the court, not letting that K-State defense set up in the half court.
Yeah, this certainly has been the pace that Kansas State wants to play. USC is so good when they can get turnovers, when they can push the pace. Of course, Juju Watkins a huge piece of that, because a player who could get the defensive board and push in transition herself.
Lindsay Gottlieb even mentioned that to us when she was studying the tape of Kansas State, realizing right away these would have been opportunities in transition as Marshall drops in the jumper. So there's one of those bigs getting on the board with a field goal.
And those are the areas of the floor that are going to be available to Marshall and Area Finn, about 10 feet from the basket on the baseline.
Lee, quick turn, gets blocked by Marshall, her third of the day. Von Olhoffen down the floor. Smith, who had 11 points in the first, did not score in the second. Navigated some foul trouble in that second as well with 2 personals. Von Olhoffen barges in, bounces under. Area Finn flips it out. Marshall again.
How about Rhea Marshall was not able to convert in the first half here, facing up, taking the open looks that she's being given.
Was 0 for 6 in the first half, 2 for 2 to begin the third quarter. And a 2-point USC lead. Winner plays Connecticut in the Elite 8 Monday night. Sundell drives it and hits.
Sundell got the defense in rotation because there was a blitz on the other side with the ball screen, and then nice job attacking the closeout.
Von Olhoffen gets one to fall. So there you go, Von Olhoffen with the jumper. Was 0 for 3 in the first half. Von Olhoffen, who made it to the Elite 8 with Oregon State a year ago and is from Tri-Cities, Washington, about 2 hours away from here. Has a ton of family in attendance as Lee able to serve that in with the right hand. Tied at 34, both offenses starting with some fluidity here in this second half. Marshall draws 2. Area Finn kicks out. Plenty of time for USC to operate. Howell. Marshall. Not that time. And a whistle, it's going the other way as the foul's called against Area Finn.
We talked about the corners being the areas that are going to be open against the 3 dots and an eye, and on this possession, that's exactly what happens. Rhea Marshall just floats out to the side, a little bit of dribble penetration. Lee cannot get out there in time.
Makes you feel good when you diagnose something at halftime, say what's available, and that's what the team goes to, right?
I love it. And I like when I get to make my little circles.
You do love the telestrator. Not as much as Mike Fratello, but a lot. We also need to give a shout out to Lisa Bluter, who's the first coach we've ever heard term that 3 dots and an eye defense.
That's right.
The Iowa legend who retired after this past season. Lee, looked like Marshall might have fouled her, no call. Tied at 34, a little more than 3 minutes into the third. Von Oelhoffen gives it up. Iriafen. That one's off as well. Whacked out of bounds. Last touch, Marshall.
This is what this game could come down to for USC, especially if it has to be played in the quarter court. Can Rhea Marshall and Kiki Iriafen make 10-foot jumpers, open 10-foot jumpers? And we've seen it both coming from the free throw line area for Marshall, and then now multiple opportunities for looks on the baseline.
And for Marshall, not as much regularity knocking them down as Iriafen usually is an outstanding mid-range shooter. And a foul here as Smith and Sundell get tied up. And the foul called on Kansas State.
Just jumping the route, Kennedy Smith out there. Yeah, Sundell grabs her arm and brings her down for the foul. But that's what USC really needs, is to speed this game up, jump the route, get some steals, get out in transition.
That's what Holly was telling us about from Lindsey Gottlieb at halftime, talking to her team. Von Oelhoffen bounces in. Iriafen can't get to it, and it's out of bounds. Von Oelhoffen was all Pac-12 last year with Oregon State. He was a key part of that team that went to the Elite Eight before falling to South Carolina, the eventual national champion. Walker spins and floats it in. Diana Walker. And then Kansas State comes up with a steal. Look out, Von Oelhoffen able to get it right back for USC. Iriafen surrounded by multiple defenders. Now open baseline. Still can't get that jumper to drop. Usually so smooth. She's now 1 of 9. 8 ties, 7 lead changes in this game. Iriafen, the 3rd team All-American this season. Size, a big-time threat from 3, gives it up. Glenn will fire, and it's hit. Jalen Glenn has been huge for this team in limited attempts. And Howell with the answer on the other end. That ends a 7-0 Kansas State run. Sides didn't pull, now will. Off the mark in the corner. Marshall flags it down for USC. 2-point Kansas State lead. Smith couldn't quite finish it through traffic, but drew the whistle. And Kennedy Smith is going to shoot 2. Timeout on the floor. Tight game. A trip to the Elite Eight on the line in Spokane. Brought to you by Hilton Garden Inn. A career high. She single-handedly outscored Oklahoma in the second half. And we've talked a lot about her now kicking it into gear with those extended stretches where she just takes over and calls her own number. We saw it in the second round, we saw it in the Big East tournament, and we certainly saw it tonight against Oklahoma.
I mean, it's been what Coach Orama has been trying to get out of her for the last few years. Be more selfish. And what does that look like? That looks like a game today where she had 1 assist, about 40 points.
Helped lead UConn from a halftime deficit to a comfy victory over Oklahoma. A terrific season for the Sooners, who were in the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2013 and have the top recruit in the country next season in Aaliyah Chavez. Smith goes 1 for 2 at the line. 1-point Kansas State lead here. The winner will face Paige Beckers in Connecticut Monday night, 9 Eastern on ESPN. A reminder, tomorrow we have a doubleheader of Elite Eight games on ABC at 1 Eastern. It'll be Duke and the defending champion South Carolina Gamecocks. And then back here, we'll have LSU UCLA in a rematch for you. And that's going the other way as Taylor picks up the foul. That'll be her first with the illegal screen.
Kiki Iriafen was guarding Glenn and just did a terrific job navigating screens, showing one of the reasons she's such a intriguing pro prospect for next year. Her ability ultimately to guard that last possession, defending a guard.
We asked her if she had a preference for where she lands in the draft, and she just said God's plan. Wasn't giving us any headlines. Azaria Finn buries the jumper.
That's what's going to be there. That is what is going to be there as long as Kansas State continues to play this defense.
And she is quite capable of knocking those down efficiently. 2 for 10 is not the norm for Kiki. Here's Glenn. A lot of three-point threats on the floor for Kansas State. Walker can't squeeze it in, but a foul. And free throws coming for Walker as Akunwafo picks up the personal. One of the things that Jeff Mitty was talking to us about in regard to Walker was just how she brings, he said, what do the kids call it? A dog mentality? So she brings that, and it's something we need. She just loves the challenge, embraces it. She's one of the younger members of this Kansas State team that has a lot of experience on it. They have 7 seniors, but Walker, just a sophomore.
Talk about what a difference maker she can be, both on the defensive and offensive ends.
Missed both free throws there. Heckel gives it up. Knocked away for the moment. Smith able to regain. 5 to shoot. Howell in some trouble. Iriafen for 3. No. Howell, yes. An 8-0 USC run. Knocked away, and it lasted Sundell. What a play by Kennedy Smith.
She's making a difference on the defensive end of the floor with her activity. We saw it earlier where she was able to poke the ball and get the foul called. This time, just active hands. And gets them to go off of Sundell.
And absolutely the right call, as you see it very clearly tipped off Sundell. 11th turnover. Iriafen again, starting to find that range.
Kiki Iriafen has been left open, and she is now showing more confidence as she steps into these 15-footers.
Run for USC, a 5-point lead, trying to head to the Elite 8 for a rematch with Connecticut. Knocked away, it's Smith again. Smith off to the races, and in! Timeout, Kansas State.
USC on a 12-0 run, and it starts on the defensive end, and the catalyst has been Kennedy Smith turning Kansas State over and getting buckets the other way.
USC has opened up a 7-point lead in this third quarter as we send things over to Holly Rowe.
Well, USC going on a run right now because of getting their hands on the basketball. It's what they've done all season long. Their assistant coach, Beth Burns, is the defensive coordinator. She tracks deflections throughout the course of the season. Entering the game today, they had 1,227 deflections. Just to put that into perspective, in their win against UCLA to clinch the Big Ten championship, they had 51 deflections. They make it hard to get ball reversals, passes. They're in the gaps, they're active hands, and Kennedy Smith, you saw with those deflections, she had 8 in their last game alone. That is what they do, and it's helped fueling this run.
I mean, that is an astonishing amount of deflections. I hope Beth doesn't have to track them herself.
I think she probably has help.
Holly, I'm glad she confirms that she does. 46-39, USC in front of Kansas State. A trip to the Elite 8 on the line here. And a matchup with Connecticut. That will happen on Monday, 9 Eastern on ESPN after Paige Beckers scored 40 in a win against Oklahoma in the first game here tonight in Spokane. Here's Sundell. Stops. looking for an angle and finding one.
She really is crafty once she gets her feet planted on the inside in terms of using head fakes and step-through moves.
Sundell, Poindexter, Glenn, Lee, all playing in their potential final collegiate game for Kansas State. Poindexter back in, had been on the bench a while for Kansas State, and Iriafen, did she step out of bounds? No, a foul.
And coming out of that timeout, Kansas State has said bye-bye to the 3 dots and an I. They are now in full man-to-man mode now that Kiki Iriafen has kind of shot them out of it.
Started with Marshall hitting a couple mid-range, and then Iriafen finding her normal stroke from that area. That foul on Lee, her first. Here's Howell. Cross court. Iriafen shovels back. Knocked out of bounds. Last hit Smith. And it's Kansas State basketball. Seven turnovers for USC. 12 for Kansas State. USC playing without Juju Watkins, tearing her ACL in the second round of this tournament as Heckel comes up with a steal and blurs to the bucket.
OkRu is the one who got the deflection there as the pass was trying to be sent into Aoka Lee.
14-2 USC run over the last 4 minutes. 7-point lead for USC. Sundell trying to work Smith. Sundell gets the foul on Kennedy Smith. That'll be the third on Smith. Navigated with 2 for more than a quarter.
You saw it there. Clarice Akunwafu was the one who had the deflection so that Heckel could get it and go the other way. Having high active hands can be so incredibly disruptive on the defensive end.
5 steals in the third quarter for USC. And one of the things is Kennedy Smith checks out now with that third foul. Malia Samuels in. One of the things that Lindsey Gottlieb talked to us about when she was deciding who was going to replace Juju Watkins in the starting lineup, she debated having Heckel enter the starting lineup, but she has liked the way she's brought this speed and defensive tenacity off the bench, the synergy that she's had with the reserves, and so didn't want to slide her in there. Instead decided to go with Avery Howell, who's starting just her second game of the season in this one. Sundell has been the best source of offense for the Wildcats. She has 16. Iriafen, 2-for-1 opportunity if they hurry. Akunwafu couldn't finish. Trying to get it back. Last hit her. Kansas State basketball. And the NCAA Women's Championship continues tomorrow. 2 Elite 8 games on ABC and the ESPN app. Duke squares off against South Carolina at 1 Eastern. Then LSU takes on UCLA. You ready for the quick turnaround?
I cannot wait.
LSU UCLA was a terrific Sweet 16 matchup last year. This time meeting in the Elite 8.
The game where UCLA went really cold from 3 in the second half.
Sundell fights off some contact, little hesitation, and then gets hit from behind. Akunwafu picks up her third. And Sundell going to the line here. Kansas State's done a nice job at the end of this quarter, making sure USC didn't run away.
But also with Kennedy Smith on the bench, and remember when she went to the bench earlier in the game, that's when K-State made their initial push.
Yeah, Kennedy Smith in that first half had team best, plus-minus at +7, as Sundell hits the free throw. 9 of 10 from the line in this game. And hits again, Serena Sundell, keeping Kansas State attached. We'll get a little breather here with 2 fouls and 9.1 seconds remaining in this third. She shot 11 of the team's 13 free throws. Iriafen, 6 seconds left in the quarter. Heckel with 3. Heckel leans in, can't finish, and that will do it for the third. A 1-possession game headed to the fourth quarter, this Sweet 16 matchup. USC led by Lindsay Gottlieb. She'll chat with Holly when we come back. The NCAA Women's Championship presented by Capital One is brought to you by Hilton Garden Inn, Hilton for the stay, and Symetra Life Insurance Company, your teammate for retirement, employee benefits, and life insurance. Start of the fourth quarter, USC leads Kansas State by 3. Let's hear from USC head coach Lindsay Gottlieb. The coach's interview brought to you by Symetra.
Well, Coach, 3 freshmen on the floor for you right then. They're in big roles and big moments, but this is all new for them. Tell me, what do you see from them right now?
I mean, throw your age out the window. You got to compete, right? And when we're good, we're battling. This is a veteran team, but to me, it's about the way we get stops and play in transition, move that ball around. So we have a ton of confidence in our team. I think it's going to come down to who makes the plays when the time is right. We have a ton of confidence in our young ones.
Depending on how they played her in the first half defensively to the second, what have you done to change how you're using Kiki Iriafen?
Well, on the offense, I mean, she's working her ass off, her tail off on defense to switch out. We're moving her around. We have trust in her mid-range jumper. We know when we move the ball, we can get around people. But for us, we've just upped our pressure. And you see what our guards can do at the point of attack. And when we get stops, we can get some easy ones in transition.
Thanks, Coach.
Off the face from Lindsay Gottlieb there. Don't worry, Lindsay, you can say it. Meanwhile, Kiki Iriafen, second round, just incredible in that matchup.
Magnificent. She had 36 points on 16 of 22, but look where most of those finishes were coming from. They were inside the paint. Kansas State and their defense has done a really good job of forcing the attempts to be outside of the paint, and as a result, she has not had nearly as much success in this game. And how is she getting open? Well, look at the paint is clogged with players, and here was a possession where she came out, free throw line extended, was able to hit the shot. We've seen a couple from the baseline as well. But 15 to 17 footers for Kiki Iriafen could decide this game in the fourth.
48-45. USC leads Kansas State. A trip to the Elite Eight on the line. Here we go, fourth quarter. USC navigating without Juju Watkins. As Walker can't finish, Lee can. Aoka Lee with her 9th rebound of the game. Has been held in check mostly, just 6 points, but a big bucket to start the fourth. Von Olhoffen, no. And Walker, the rebound. Here's Glenn. Sundell. Neither team is led by more than 7 at any point in this game. Sundell dives in, can't finish.
Sundell had the switch of Marshall out on her, so Kansas State cleared that side of the floor.
Howell, another 3. 14 points for Avery Howell and her 4th 3 of the game.
Avery Howell hit some huge shots when USC beat UConn in Hartford earlier this year. She hit some huge shots when they beat UCLA in Westwood. She is accustomed to bigger moments.
Lee draws the double. Walker looking to get around Howell, elevating and dropping it in. Diana Walker with a big bucket. Avery Howell from Boise, just a 6-hour drive from here, performing well for USC. A freshman, Poindexter, way off, and Iriafen grabs the air ball. First attempt in a while for Poindexter, who had 8 threes in the win against Kentucky last round. Smith, too much on it. Here's Glenn. Poindexter guarded by Iriafen. Heard Lindsay Gottlieb talking about the way she works defensively, and there ends up drawing the foul on Lee as she was chasing Poindexter.
Poindexter was coming in off the screen, and Aoka Lee was not yet set. But yes, this is what Kiki Iriafen has been doing all game. is chasing around staggered screens, defending out on the perimeter, switching onto guards as well. She's really showed the complement of what she can do defensively.
And both she and Lindsay Gottlieb yesterday talked to us about the way Kiki has grown defensively this season, specifically with how she has been able to hang with guards. How? Not that time. And out of bounds to Kansas State. .7:20 to go in the fourth. Kennedy Smith eyeing Sundell all the way up the floor. Sundell held the foot, dumps it in, and Lee ties the game. 51 all. Rhea Marshall felt there should have been a travel. 10-3 run from Kansas State. Marshall banks it in.
That's the matchup that USC has the advantage because Sundell is 6'2" in size, but does not have the strength to stay with Marshall inside.
Poindexter flips it back out to Sundell. Sundell has 18 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Poindexter in and out. Here's Heckel with 6:30 to go in the fourth. And USC leading by 2. Pass kind of split the difference. Howell ends up free. Howell. No. Marshall.
The switch defensively came, and as a result, Marshall was able to crash into the paint, which gave her the position for that offensive board.
Marshall answering the bell in this second half, now with 8 points after 2 in the first. USC's lead is 4, and Jeff Mitty didn't like what he was seeing develop or not develop there for Kansas State, and we'll take a timeout. 5:56 to go in the fourth, 4-point USC lead.
Rhea Marshall sees the switch, and so now her player is on her back. She's able to get in, scoop it up, deliver, celebrate.
The NCAA Women's Championship is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet? And in part by Meta. Talk it out with Meta AI. And now for today's Need to Know, brought to you by Intuit QuickBooks. USC with a 4-point lead, 5:56 to go in this fourth quarter. Avery Howell, Kennedy Smith, a couple of freshmen. They've gotten it done thus far, 14 points apiece, both efficient from the floor, and both having to take on a little bit of a larger offensive load with no Juju Watkins.
Certainly have, especially, with such a quiet day so far from Kiki Iriafen, 3 of 12 for 6 points. But those guards have continued to make big plays on both ends of the floor.
4-point lead for USC. Under 6 minutes remaining in this Sweet 16 matchup. Winner will play Connecticut in the Elite 8 on Monday night. That gets poked out of bounds by Smith. Nearly a 5-second violation on the inbound.
You just simplify.
Yeah.
Post up and throw it to the guard.
Sundell, simplify it there too. And Lee floats it in. I mean, the on-off numbers for Kansas State this season, and there's a high quantity of them in both scenarios with Lee. It's just dramatic how much better they are with her on the floor versus off, both offensively and defensively. We're talking about precipitous drops in efficiency on both ends of the floor when she is on versus off.
And she's a very good shot blocker, in particular offensively. Jeff Mitty talks about gravity, and when she gets touches and the double teams that she draws, it just makes things so much more open for her shooters on the perimeter.
Here's Howell. Gets the handoff. Howell scoops it in. Avery Howell with 16. Sundell dumps it in. Lee flicks it out. Sundell and Lee, a little two-player action. Sundell now stuck. Poindexter, 10 to shoot. Sundell, 5 to shoot. Walker eyes the clock. Walker with 2 to shoot, elevates and hits.
There's that dog mentality.
2-point game again. Erie offense surrounded. And it's going to be a held ball. Possession arrow stays with USC.
Howell just taking the hand off and does a great job as soon as she gets Poindexter on her hip, just attacking the rim. And how about Walker? Shot clock running down. That's just making something out of nothing.
Heckel bounces in. Oh, nice move. And Smith lays it home. 16 for Kennedy Smith. She and Howell, a couple of freshmen, both delivering. 16 apiece. A combined 13 for 23 from the floor. Poindexter turns the corner and finds lead for the lay.
Little fake handoff and then turn and drive the other way. You have to draw the help side defender, and she leaves it beautifully for Lee.
59-57, USC in front, under 4 minutes to go. Kansas State trying to head to the Elite Eight for the first time since 1982. USC trying to get back there. Howell in and out. Erie Fenn gets hit from behind, and free throws coming for Kiki Iriafen.
That time Kansas State back in the 3 dots and an I, and Kiki Iriafen was able to crash the boards without Kansas State putting a body on her.
Only one game this season Iriafen has scored in single digits. Scored 7 back on January 22nd at Purdue. Currently has 6. Misses that free throw. 82%, a career high this season for Iriafen. Projected number 3 pick in this year's WNBA draft. Hits the second. 3-point USC lead, another great game. It's been a day full of them. Kansas State has shot at 61% in the second half. Lee, deep position, the turn, left it short. Here's Howell racing up the floor. Iriafen dives in, can't hook it home with the left. Into the arms of trusty Sundell. Sundell backing in and lays it home. It is a 1-point game.
Said it all game long. Serena Sundell is so adept when she gets inside with her back to the basket, can finish, has great pace.
20 for Sundell. Also has 6 assists and 5 boards. Heckel off to Howell. Howell thought about launching. Smith, 8 to shoot. Iriafen, 5 to shoot. Kiki, and a charge is called. Now Kiki Iriafen.
Okunwafo is not a threat on the right side. Sundell comes down and just gets the position, does a beautiful job drawing the charge, absolutely, with Iriafen lowering her shoulder.
Under 2:30 to go in the fourth. USC a 1-point lead on Kansas State. Sundell turns the corner, twists, can't flip it in, took a lot of contact, no whistle. Here comes Heckel, and Lindsey Gottlieb will take a timeout. With 2 minutes and 10 seconds remaining, USC a 1-point lead on Kansas State.
Jeff Mitty talked to us yesterday and said this season they have at times played through Sundell and to Sundell, and especially when Aoka Lee was out, a couple of their big victories over both Iowa State and TCU, they played through Sundell, and a lot of it was her getting the ball on the block and looking to go to work offensively.
Take a look at our bracket. So the winner of this game will face Connecticut after Paige Becker's 40-point performance tonight. That'll be Monday, 9 Eastern on ESPN in the Elite Eight. Doubleheader tomorrow on ABC. A couple of Elite Eight matchups. Duke and South Carolina, the defending national champs, at 1, and then at 3 here it'll be LSU, UCLA. All right, Rebecca, obviously the go-to player down the stretch for USC has been Juju Watkins over the last 2 seasons. They don't have her. Who do they operate through in these final moments? I mean, they have the Funko Pop, but they don't have her on the floor.
I would think it would be Kennedy Smith, and potentially Kennedy Smith in Kiki Iriafen in some kind of a 2-man game. But
and Heckel loses the dribble for a moment. Neither team is led by more than 4 at any point in this 4th quarter. Here's Smith. Smith turns the corner and gets the whistle. There you go, partner.
The 2-man game, in particular with Kennedy Smith going to the strong right side, she has been a handful for Kansas State to deal with.
And Jeff Mittie is not enamored with that call as Smith will go to the line. Just the 7th and 8th attempts of the game for USC, and a big one there for Kennedy Smith. I think Jeff Mittie had a case.
Yeah.
And Smith hits both. Popped out of bounds. Smith, how disruptive has Kennedy Smith been on the defensive end?
Just incredibly. I mean, she uses her length and her anticipation so well. I mean, she's just trying to, she's right up in Serena Sundell right now before she even catches the ball.
I'll tell you what, I want to eat at her brother Jordan's restaurant the way she's playing. Cascadia Public House, we're coming. Lives here in Spokane. And there's Smith again. Off the steal, Kennedy Smith nearly reverses it in. Gets the whistle and will go to the line. But her defensive intensity has made such a difference in this 2nd half.
Yeah, we've seen it multiple times now, and she just has her hands and arms out in the passing lane. Sundell gets down, smacks her. What's been impressive to me watching it right in front of us this entire 2nd half is she's been guarding Serena Sundell. And as Sundell's bringing the ball up the floor, Kennedy Smith is just staring in her eyes.
Yeah.
It's not something you usually see, and it's like, all right, I'm just waiting for the opportunity to poke this basketball away from you.
It's got to be a little distracting to Serena Sundell.
Disconcerting.
Smith goes 1 for 2 from the line there. The lead is 4. Remember, neither team is led by more than 4 at any point in this 4th quarter. A trip to the Elite Eight is on the line. USC's fan base up on its feet, trying to rally behind their team. And now Kansas State's going to take a timeout. Jeff Mittie wanted Serena Sundell to do something in motion there, and she did not. So Kansas State will take the timeout. Let's take a look at the Capital One rewarding performance. How about the USC freshmen showing up big when their team has needed it most?
I mean, just come out with confidence from the jump. And it started with Kennedy Smith, not only hitting shots, but the disruptiveness that she has had on the defensive end of the floor. Avery Howell, I mean, all season long. And again here tonight, we've seen her step up big, especially when it comes to draining threes.
Kansas
we only
State
showed 2 of them.
The combined points, 35 of them, also very efficient. They've made big plays at big moments as well when USC has needed it. If you were going to say, well, how's USC going to navigate into the Elite Eight without Juju Watkins? You would have said, well, Kiki Iriafen is going to have to drop 25 plus and have a big game. Well, no. She's 3 for 13, has 7 points, has been great defensively, but it's been Howell and it's been Kennedy Smith on the offensive end. Meanwhile, here's Kansas State now with just 1 timeout remaining.
Got the switch they wanted for Sundell on the post.
Can she take the freshman Heckel? She can. There you go. 2-point game. 22 for Sundell. One minute remaining in the 4th. Sundell went for the steal. Here's Smith. Smith driving and has it taken away. Sundell has it with Kansas State down 2. Dangerous pass. Poindexter, no. Iriafen the rebound. Now Kansas State can still play defense here straight up. There's enough of a differential game in shot clock. Kansas State's looking at the bench. Why are you going to foul?
You know, Jeff Vinny was yelling, don't foul, don't foul.
And Poindexter looking towards his coach, towards her coach.
You see him the whole time, don't foul.
I mean, that's just, that's a brutal mistake by Kansas State. And it wasn't just Poindexter, to be fair. Sides was about to foul as well for Kansas State.
And while they were looking over at their coach trying to get some guidance, he was giving it to them.
And just a critical mistake as Howell hits the free throw to make it a 3-point game. Over 80% on the season. She's got both. It's a 2-possession lead. And a whistle here as Iriafen and Lee hit the deck. And they didn't call the foul on Lee. Let's see. I mean,
it looks like 2 players losing their balance.
You know, we have our rules expert Violet Palmer with us. We're going to see another look here, and we'll bring in Violet to get her opinion. Violet, to me, that looks like a play on. What are you seeing there?
Ryan, that's a tough play to have a play on. It actually looks like 50 from K-State is actually holding. And then they both stumble to the ground. You got to have something on the play.
Okay. So you think it's the right call?
That is correct. I do.
Thank you, Violet. Kiki misses both free throws. Kansas State will use its final timeout. So Kansas State able to emerge with a much better opportunity to still come back in this game after Iriafen misses both free throws there on what was another Kansas State mistake. First they foul, then they foul on the free throw. But Kansas State still with life, down 4. USC, the 65-61 lead. Kansas State using their final timeout, have the basketball here as we send things over to Holly Rowe.
Well, regardless of how this game ends up, Aoka Lee playing in her 7th season of college basketball, unimaginable injuries, major knee injury, 2 stress fractures in her feet. She came back from a surgery just a few weeks ago, putting screws in her foot, and yet here she is playing for her team. She has given everything to Kansas State, but her coach told us the thing he's the most proud of, she is working as a family therapist. He has to ask her when they can practice because she has clients. She said, I can't imagine playing basketball past this. I'm just so tired of all of the rehab and all of the injuries. My body doesn't feel like I want to keep playing, but boy, she's given us so much to watch and enjoy over her 7 years at Kansas State.
Absolutely, Holly, and if this is the final game for Aoka Lee, deserves that send-off. The NCAA record holder for most points in a game with 61. Meanwhile, Rebecca, still a lot of time left here for Kansas State. Now out of timeout, but with the basketball down 4.
Go quick. You don't necessarily need a 3 here, but you certainly need to go quickly. And it is important that they are out of timeouts because they don't have the option to advance anymore. But we saw the last possession, Jeff Mitty drawing up a really nice play to get a quick hitter for Serena Sundell inside.
Glenn will inbound. Gets it into Sundell, trying to go quickly. She misses the layup. Iriafen the rebound. And she is fouled by Sundell. More free throws coming for Iriafen, who is just 1 for 4 from the line in this game. That is not the norm. She's an 82% free throw shooter.
Sundell gets a good look at it, but has to double clutch because Akinwafa was right there.
Now USC will take a timeout. I'm not sure if they called a foul there, Rebecca, or just awarded the timeout before Sundell tried to apply the foul. As we welcome you back courtside here in Spokane. It's been a great day of basketball. You saw the 2 games in Birmingham earlier, both tight contests. really interesting games here in Spokane. By the way, we get where the timeout was awarded before the foul from Sundell. How about USC here, Rebecca? Obviously, I mean, they're navigating such difficult circumstances. Juju Watkins is not just a massive star in the sports world. She is essential to everything USC does, and here they are grinding through, and a couple of freshmen really stepping up in her absence.
Yeah, I mean, the players in the backcourt, in particular the freshmen, Smith and Howell, have just done a tremendous job for USC, as you mentioned, in really tough circumstances. In a tight game as well, they're the players who made some of the big plays to get this little bit of separation here.
4-point lead for USC. With 27 seconds remaining in the fourth, all of the members of USC wore that Juju Watkins Nike shirt coming to the game tonight in Spokane. USC trying to go to back-to-back Elite Eights for the first time since the mid-'80s as Sundell knocks it out. She wants them to take a look at it. They can, since it's under 2 minutes, but will they?
They will.
Ruling on the floor is gold basketball. The out-of-bounds play is under review.
All right, so the ruling on the floor is USC basketball. Is there anything conclusive here to overturn it? Saw some tight reviews in that South Carolina-Maryland game yesterday. Well, that looks like perhaps it's on the right hand of Howell. But is it the last thing it... that might have lasted Howell.
Maybe.
Looks like there's a chance that last hits the
Ooh, the right, like,
the right hand
ring
of Howell.
finger.
Yeah, because I don't think the left hand of Sundell is hitting it then afterwards, as we saw from the previous view. See, Sundell's hand is there.
But does Sundell's little blue painted fingernail hit it then?
So that's why you always should go with orange paint.
Right there, does she get it?
From this angle, it looks like maybe. From the angle we just saw previously, it looked like she didn't. But remember, this has to be conclusive for them to overturn what was called on the floor, which is USC basketball. So is there clear evidence here to do so and award the basketball to Kansas State? Obviously, just a massive call, because with 26.5 seconds to go, if this is Kansas State's ball, there's still plenty of time for them to come back.
Yes. This is where the call on the floor is so important.
Yeah. I mean, you could see Kyle Bacon just dialing it back frame by frame to make sure.
That looks like a towel, but the question to me is right there. Is it the fingertip of Sundell? Like, does the ball change its rotation?
I don't think so, because on the reverse angle, I think there was space between her hand and the ball. But on that angle, it looks like could be.
I want the little machine where I can go back frame by frame.
Looked like Tom Hanks trying to land the lunar module.
Or like, what's the golf video game?
Golden Tee?
Yeah.
The ruling on the floor is the call is reversed. It is Kansas State ball.
Well, there you go. They saw the clear evidence needed to overturn it. This is the angle where you could see there's space between Sundell's hand and the basketball.
Yes.
So it did last hit the right hand of Howell.
And Jeff Mittie, without a timeout, had that time to set up what he wants his team to run in this situation now.
So the door is open now for Kansas State. They're a very capable three-point shooting team as well. Don't necessarily need one yet. They're just 5 for 15 tonight, but amongst the nation's best. Sundell on the move, fading, can't hit. Lee the rebound, out to Glenn. 18 seconds to go. Sides looking for space. Can't find it. The runner is off. Loose ball. Peckle has it. So does USC. 8 seconds to go. And the Trojans on the brink. Kansas State is out of timeouts. Heckel sinks the free throw. Hits the next. 8 seconds remaining. USC by 6. Glenn Hoyce, and that will do it. USC is still alive. Headed back to the Elite Eight for a rematch with Connecticut.
Kansas State Wildcats 61.
What a performance for the young players for USC to lead the way, and not only on the offensive end, Ryan, but on the defensive as well. Kennedy Smith coming up huge in all of the big moments. Howell hitting big shots as well, and then Heckel draining those free throws at the end.
A gritty, spirited performance by USC, navigating without Juju Watkins, and the Elite Eight is set. Tomorrow it begins at 1 Eastern on ABC with Duke in South Carolina, then back in Spokane for UCLA, LSU, and then Monday night on ESPN, TCU, Texas from Birmingham at 7 Eastern, and back here for USC, UConn, in a matchup of the top 2 seeds in this region. And Holly is with a couple of freshmen who have to be feeling pretty good.
Well, you two combined for 37 points, your first NCAA tournament. How were you unafraid in this big moment?
I think just everybody has confidence in each other. With Drew going down, I think everybody stepped up, and I think everybody has confidence in each other, whether it was Hayes making out her shots, Rhea having post defense, everything. I think everybody just contributed in the way that we can, and, you know, yeah, we got the job done.
You're playing fairly close to home. What was it like to have this crowd, this big sold-out building rooting for you guys?
Yeah, it was really cool. We had a really great environment out here, and I had a lot of family and friends out here, so it felt like kind of close to home. It was a lot of fun, and I think that it was a gritty win, but I think we pulled it out, and that's exactly what we needed to do today to get the dub.
You talk about Juju going down. This team has had to reinvent itself in the last 6 days in some ways. What did you rely on tonight that got you the win?
Just each other. I think everybody, like I said earlier, has confidence in each other. I think everybody has value on this team, so everybody's just doing a little bit extra to get the job done, and now we're going to Elite Eight, so we're excited for that.
All right, you get a date with UConn. How will that game be for you as a young freshman trying to play against one of the best in the country, Paige Beckers?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game. We know they're a great team, but I think we're going to come out guns blazing. We're going to be ready to go, and we have a lot of different superpowers on this team, and we're all going to come together, and it's going to be a tough game, but we're excited, looking forward to that matchup.
Bring out the superpowers. I love it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
What a day for women's